The waste disposal of America is a political problem that violates environmentalism and individuals' rights. The racial contract is present in today's society. Black individuals are looked down upon by white individuals and labeled as black trash. Social contract is a series of acts by which humans bring validity into existence and sustain character. Social contract is raceless, run by equal people, and has equal space. The racial contract is racial, run by superior race of whites, and has racial space. There is no common space between it, and it is determined by private property, and black space is not thought to be as valuable. Whites dominated over blacks and created a separate space by racial contract. Blacks were thought of as nothingness and violent, and dirty, dangerous, and unequal. Whites were superior to blacks on a social scale. Space was separated with a fear of contamination by black individuals. The racial contract enforced segregation through unequal treatment of the divided spaces. Separation of racial space determines where waste disposal goes. The claim is that black individuals were not viewed as equal value in comparison to white individuals. Thomas Hobbes was a materialist of the social contract theory that created a picture of commonwealth that created the artificial man through a greater stature and strength than the natural man. The artificial man was a white individual and the natural man is a black individual. Desmond King stated that, or has documented through political history of the United States, it has been one of the systemic racial dominations by white majority, creation of political institutions for non-white populations, and imposition from above the system of white rule, and the support are for the white population. Marcus explains that white racism focused on cultural identity and exclusion like religion. Religion was considered devil worship and not valuable. David Roediger states that there was racial division of labor and a clear demonstration between white man's labor and black man's work. Black man's work was the dirtiest and most dangerous. Environmentalism for blacks challenges waste disposal as well as their own status of the white body politics. In white shame, racism in America includes white guilt but lacks white shame. This means that the American liberalism and ideology formed by moral psychologies overemphasize guilt and underemphasize shame of racism. The focus is more on the violation of individuals' rights and less on the community. Shame is directly about the self, and guilt is the act that is the central focus of the negative evaluation. The moral psychology of whiteness is socially constructed because individuals should be able to feel guilt and shame when the norms of justice are violated in the community. An individual that is guilty fears the punishment of their actions. An individual that feels shame, feels shame, fears abandonment or disapproval from others. This means that white guilt is socially constructed and requires evaluation. White Americans are evaluated in relation to black Americans. Institutional white guilt is white people's responsibility for being wrong as white people. Malcolm X was a form of black power that gave rise to white guilt. White individuals feared black power because they considered them powerless and unequal to whites. Liberal white guilt is white Americans as members of community that bear personal guilt for slavery and racism. It is constructed by private property, and whites don't feel responsible for things they personally didn't do. Institutional guilt and liberal guilt overemphasize guilt and underemphasize shame because individuals personally didn't partake in slavery. White shame is lacking in America because whites don't feel shame by judgment for being white in America. This makes white individuals painted by the actions and attitudes of other whites because they have the same identity. Whiteness painted by overemphasis of guilt and underemphasize of shame because white individuals feel that they didn't personally commit anything wrong, do not take responsibility for racism in America. The claim is that white shame is the feeling of shame for being white in America, whites are privileged and blacks are oppressed. White people's culpability is white people for slavery and not racism. Malcolm X gave rise to the black power that formed the white guilt in America. White individuals feared the rise of the black power and they thought they were powerless. The liberal white guilt was the individual's white American personal moral guilt for slavery and racism. Whites are guilty of wrongs they didn't commit but feel no personal guilt. White shame does not exist in America because of the overemphasis of guilt and underemphasis of shame. White shame is a potential emotion that refers to the possible but not all actual situations. An objectification is a feminist theory and it's the treatment of a person as an object. It is usually associated with anti-pornography. Victims of objectification are unaware they are being objectified. Kant states that objectification is a negative phenomenon that causes harm to the person's humanity. Humanity is an individual's rational nature or capacity for rational choice. Humans have a dignity. McKinnon and Dworkin state that only women are victims of objectification. A person's gender is clearly distinguished by a person's sex. When a person is objectified, the person is depersonalized. It reduces their humanity into being an object for sex. A woman's humanity can be harmed by male consumers of pornography. Nussbaum believes that objectification is seeing or treating a person as an object. Objectification involves instrumentality, denial of autonomy, inertness, fungibility, violability, ownership, and denial of subjectivity. Positive or benign objectification has the neutral beneficial effect of a person's humanity. Positive objectification is seeing or treating a person as an object when their humanity is not denied. Negative objectification affects the individual's humanity in a detrimental way. Negative objectification is seeing or treating a person as an object that the person's humanity is denied. Reductive objectification is when the objectified individual's humanity is some way harmed. Non-reductive objectification is when the objectified individual's humanity is not harmed but ignored. Intentional objectification is when the objectifier has the intention of denying the objectified individual humanity, and they do. Unintentional objectification is when the objectifier does not intend of denying objectified individuals' humanity, but does. Reductive objectification is intentional when the objectifier intends to harm the objectified individual's humanity. Reductive objectification that is unintentional is when the objectifier does not intend to harm the objectified individual's humanity. Non-reductive objectification is intentional when the objectifier intends to deny the objectified individual's humanity and ignores it. Non-reductive objectification is unintentional when the objectifier does not intend to deny the objectified individual's humanity but ignores it. Claims that people are not treated equal. In Isabel and Veronica, objectified individuals' humanity is harmed. There's a rape scene and Isabel is raped and physically hurt by a man, and is further presented as enjoyment for this sort of treatment. She's treated as an instrument for the gratification of his sexual desires and as something that is permissible to violate and abuse in any way he wishes. Isabel is denied autonomy, her humanity is hurt. In Lady Chatterley, the sex scene is described between two lovers. It is characterized by equality and mutuality. Both lovers deny each other's autonomy and subjectivity when engaging in the sex act. My major claim between these three articles is that all people are not treated equal, but no matter what the race or gender may be. The racial contracts were inscribed through neighborhood associations, real estate dealers, redlining, restrictive covenants, and mob violence when necessary. That geography of aversion that would ultimately make blacks the most spatial, isolated population. Race is the basic organization of spatial principle of the extended body of validity. Black relations to nature have been mediated by white power running through the white body. There's a struggle to change the actions, inactions, and attitudes of white people, where there is still a war against racism and white people, and there is a need for black women to confront and wade through the racist constructs underlying our deprivation of each other. The stereotype of the objectifier whose intention is to objectify women, hurt their humanity, and reduce them to objects. Objectification is often caused by ignorance and is unintentional. Men are the objectifier against women as they make them feel like objects. Whites do not treat blacks equally, and men will most commonly objectify women.